Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to your National Coming Out Day commemoration event. I'm your host, Dr. Karen Wisely. I teach history at the Northeast campus of Tarrant County College. If you have any questions during this presentation, please enter them in the Q&A chat, and I'll answer them as best I can at the end. But let's get started, shall we? We're going to start by talking about what National Coming Out Day is and how it started and why. And in order to do that, I want to give you a brief history of the LGBTQ community. You're probably already somewhat familiar with the term coming out, which stems from the phrase coming out of the closet and means to admit to yourself and or to others that you are LGBTQ+. It is a process, not a one-time thing. It is something that LGBTQ+ people do almost daily. So it is something that will happen over and over. Some of them are more dramatic, more traumatic than others, but it is something that you do quite often. And it is important that LGBTQ people are out and open when they can be, because studies have shown that knowing even just one LGBTQ+ person will increase the likelihood that someone will support LGBTQ plus equality and rights. So it's important that if we can be, we should be out. All right. LGBTQ plus people have existed throughout all of history in the US and around the world. Although the terminology has changed quite a bit over the years, it was once a much more isolated existence. Actually, all of humanity once had a much more isolated existence when we were much more of an agriculturally based society. As that changed in the United States, the urbanization began at the end of the 19th and beginning of the 20th century. Scattered clusters of LGBTQ plus people developed a thriving gay subculture in many large American cities. Prohibition, the period between the passage of the 18th Amendment in 1919 that banned the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcoholic beverages, and the passage of the 21st Amendment in 1933 that repealed the 18th Amendment, blurred the line between respectable and the tawdry. In this atmosphere, gay people became big in the amusement districts. Drag balls in Harlem drew enormous wealthy crowds who were fascinated by flamboyant drag queens. Gay entertainers took to the stage all over the city. By the time Prohibition was repealed by the 21st Amendment in 1933, the visibility of gays and lesbians in the entertainment culture of the city made them easy targets for the moral backlash that followed. Almost overnight, police harassment of clubs with gay entertainment stepped up drastically. Bars that catered to a homosexual crowd found it more difficult to obtain liquor license, and drag balls were raided and temporarily shut down. As a result, gay life became more secretive, and LGBTQ plus folks retreated into the closet. World War II proved to be halcyon days for lesbian and gay men. Most people were much too involved in the war to pay them much attention, and the war itself afforded them with more opportunities to find each other. The military of the United States drafted thousands of men from across the nation, which included innumerable young gay men, in spite of the fact that World War II was the first time the military disqualified homosexuals from service. The situation offered a prime opportunity to meet others with the same feelings and desires. The women who joined the workforce during the war experienced many of those same opportunities when they escaped the constant supervision of family to work in factories filled with other women and to live nearby in all-female housing. The end of World War II brought with it a sense of declining morals exemplified by such horrors, that's sarcasm, as women in the workplace, premarital sex, and homosexual relations, having become almost commonplace. While those things might be ignored during a time of war, their continuance in the peace was a source of consternation. On top of this, there was increased scrutiny on anyone who flouted traditional roles or the conformity of society for fear that they were communists aiming to infiltrate the government and take over the country. The House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, and Senate investigations headed by Senator Joseph McCarthy, seen here in the bottom right hand and the bottom left hand pictures, they held televised hearings investigating possible communists in Hollywood, in the State Department, and then later in the United States Army. While the whole nation was fixated on the public proceedings, however, especially of HUAC, scores of gay men and lesbians were quietly labeled security risks and squeezed out of their jobs with very little actual evidence required. In response to this kind of persecution, the first lasting LGBTQ organizations were found in the 1950s. The Mattachine Society, founded in LA in 1950, and the Daughters of Bilitis, formed in 1955 in San Francisco. These were conservative organizations, however, who only wanted to educate the public on how similar gay people were to straight people. Their goal was assimilation and tolerance. They started picketing the White House, Independence Hall in Philadelphia annually, but dress codes and very tame. But they had dress codes and were very tame demonstrations. You can see those in the on the left-hand side of the screen. The women were required to wear dresses or skirts. The men had to wear dress pants and suits. At the top one, the guy in the middle holding the "Gay is Good" sign is Frank Kameny, who was a very big activist in the community. Still, these organizations were mostly private, and they were built on secrecy. Lots of members used pseudonyms. They were still afraid of being outed because of three things. First of all, homosexual conduct was illegal in all 50 states until 1961. And when I say that, I think a lot of people think in 1961, everyone was like, oh, it's not illegal anymore. But no, it's in 1961, one single state repealed the homosexual conduct law, and that state was Illinois. And over the years, other states might join them, but it's not until 2003 in the court case of Lawrence v. Texas that the last 14 states will have their homosexual conduct laws overturned. So it's not until 2003 that it is essentially legal to be LGBTQ in the United States, in all of the states. The second problem is that homosexuality was listed in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of the American Psychiatric Association as a mental disorder until 1973. This meant that people could be put in mental institutions and go through what are called the cures that include things like chemical sterilization, electroshock therapy, and even sometimes occasionally prefrontal lobotomies. in order to stop their homosexual urges. The last thing that the community was facing is that homosexuality was viewed by most major religions, including the big three monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, as immoral. So they were trying to fit in. They weren't trying to rock the boat, really. They were just trying to fit in and say, no, we're not criminals. We're not crazy. We're not immoral. We're just people like everybody else. And so that's what the homophile movement was doing. But it wasn't good enough for some people, because the 1960s, was a time of radical change, and a lot of young people wanted radical change. And so in June of 1969, in the early morning hours of June 28, 1969, in fact, New York City police will enter the Stonewall Inn, which was a gay bar in Greenwich Village. They entered for a routine vice raid of the bar, and those had become commonplace for establishments that were catering to a homosexual clientele. And they usually resulted in closing the bar for a brief period, the arrest of a few of the more outwardly transgressive patrons, like your drag queens, your ultra masculine butch lesbians, and so forth. People who were basically flouting the gender norms were the ones that were going to be targeted in these raids. And after having submitted meekly to this type of harassment for years, on this particular night, for whatever reason, and there are many, many different theories on this, the New York City gays and lesbians on that night will fight back. And they will be led by those drag queens, those butch lesbians who had endured the worst of the torment, and they will result in several days of rioting. That poet and counterculture icon Allen Ginsberg remarked that the homosexuals in New York no longer have that wounded look. It was a different attitude, a different feeling in the air, basically. The new activists brushed aside the homophile movement's assimilation tactics and replaced them with more aggressive, in-your-face demand for acceptance. The next year, the young leaders of the new movement called for a march to commemorate the Stonewall riots, and on Sunday, June 28, 1970, about 200 lesbians and gay men began that first Christopher Street Liberation Day march. By the time they reached Central Park from beginning in Greenwich Village, thousands more had joined their march. In Los Angeles, more than 1,000 people marched in their Christopher Street West parade that took place at the same time. Over time, more and more cities have held their own pride parades in honor of those Stonewall riots in 1969. Dallas, for example, held its first pride parade in 1972, then another in 1973, and then they took a long break until it became an annual tradition beginning in 1982. Harvey Milk became the first openly gay member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors in 1977. After losing twice, he finally won his election. But the victory was short-lived because Harvey Milk was assassinated along with San Francisco Mayor George Moscone in 1978, November 1978. Before that happened, however, in a campaign to stop a California initiative, it was Proposition 6, also called the Briggs Initiative, on the ballot in 1978 in California, that would have banned any gay or lesbian teachers from working in state public schools. Harvey Milk will urge people to, quote, come out wherever you are. Milk gambled that if a queer person told their friends they were gay, Californians would realize that they had friends, co-workers, even family members who were gay, and out of solidarity would oppose the proposition. He said, "We must destroy the myths once and for all. We must continue to speak out, and most importantly, every gay person must come out. As difficult as it is, you must tell your immediate family. You must tell your relatives. You must tell your friends, if indeed they are your friends. You must tell your neighbors. You must tell the people you work with. You must tell the people in the stores you shop in. And once they realize that we are indeed their children and that we are indeed everywhere, every myth, every lie, every innuendo will be destroyed once and for all. And once you do, you will feel so much better." The campaign helped defeat that initiative, and then, as I said, he was assassinated along with the mayor, George Moscone, later in that same month. On October 14th, 1979, the gay liberation movement commemorated the 10th anniversary of the Stonewall riots that represented its symbolic beginnings by marching on Washington. The United States Park Police estimated that 50,000, some estimates say 75,000, some say up to 125,000 gay men and lesbians marched down Pennsylvania Avenue behind the White House and gathered in the National Mall to demand equal rights. To some, the turnout was disappointingly low compared to the estimated 250,000 that had gathered to hear Martin Luther King Jr. deliver his "I Have a Dream" speech in 1963, or the nearly 400,000 who protested the Vietnam War in 1969 in a protest that was commemorated in the film Forrest Gump, right? After all, one important goal of the event was to show Washington's politicians that gay people were a significant portion of the population, I should say, whose rights should not be overlooked. The paltry attendance, combined with the almost complete lack of media attention, allowed those outside the community to paint the march as a failure. Lesbians and gay men had made significant progress in their quest for equality during the 10 years for Stonewall. Any disappointment experienced by those involved in the event stemmed primarily from the realization that while conditions had improved to where more and more individuals felt confident enough to come out and live openly, they had a long way to go on a national level. In fact, other than successfully lobbying the American Psychiatric Association to remove homosexuality from its Manual of Mental Disorders in 1973, most of the progress occurred locally. The movement still lacked a national central organization. Then AIDS came to the LGBTQ+ community, and it left it completely changed. So many people died and were dying from it. Initially, the diagnosis was a death sentence, with 95% of those diagnosed dead within 5 years of the diagnosis. And for many who caught the disease, they had never told their family that they were gay. All told, about 700,000 people died of AIDS in the United States, and more than 1 million people currently live with the disease. Ultimately, to the gay and lesbian community in Dallas as well as across the nation, AIDS represented a time of sorrow. For that reason, the most enduring response to the AIDS epidemic was the NAMES Project AIDS Memorial Quilt. In 1985, during an annual candlelight march to honor Harvey Milk in San Francisco, Cleve Jones, one of Milk's associates, noted the absence of so many of their friends and loved ones who had been lost to the disease, so he asked the marchers to write the names of loved ones who had died of AIDS on their placards and they taped them to the Federal Building in San Francisco. Someone remarked that it looked like a quilt, and the idea for the Names Project AIDS Memorial Quilt was born. Every 3-foot by 6-foot panel represents a life lost to the disease. The quilt quickly acquired more than 44,000 panels. In October 1987, at the Second National March on Washington, the quilt was displayed in its entirety for the first time. According to historian John D'Amelio, who was on the National Mall when the AIDS Memorial Quilt was unfurled for the very first time, and the way they did it was they had an 18 by 18 squares, and they would they had a loudspeaker system, and they had people unfold the 18 by 18 squares, and the person on the loudspeaker was reading out the names, all the names of the people who were represented by the quilt squares in that group. John D'Amelio said, instead of individual, silent, pent-up grief, the quilt had made it possible for grief to be shared, released, and finished with in a collective fashion. And for the lives of those who had died to be remembered with dignity and respect. Just 8 years after the disappointing showing at the 1979 March on Washington for lesbian and gay rights, the United States Park Police estimated that more than 200,000 people, some estimates say up to 500,000, attended the second march in 1987. The devastation of the AIDS crisis unified the gay and lesbian community like nothing else could, and made the movement a national one. In the heady period after the great success of the 1987 March on Washington, LGBTQ+ leaders Rob Eichberg and Jean O'Leary first proposed the idea of National Coming Out Day. Rob Eichberg, who died of AIDS complications in 1995, was a psychologist and founder of the personal growth workshop, The Experience. O'Leary was an out lesbian political leader and longtime activist from New York, and was the head of the National Gay Rights Advocates of Los Angeles at the time of National Coming Out Day's founding. Rather than react defensively to oppressive anti-LGBTQ actions, Eichberg and O'Leary's vision was to create a holiday that celebrated queer identities in order to decrease stigma and homophobia. They chose the anniversary of the 1987 March on Washington, which was October 11th, for that holiday. And at October 11th of every year now is National Coming Out Day. We have come a long way in the intervening years. LGBTQ+ people have never been as visible as they are now, as evidenced by the various shows and icons on this slide. I just want you to know that I could have made half a dozen other slides and not repeated any of the same people or shows. There's a lot of stuff out there now in the media, and it is a little overwhelming that it happened so fast. Acceptance happened so quickly. It is still true today, though, that when people know someone, anyone, even one person who is LGBTQ+, they are far more likely to support equality under the law. Beyond that, our stories can be powerful to each other. So I pulled some clips together from a local program that was sponsored by an organization called the Dallas Way. they called these programs Outrageous Oral, and the name was purposefully provocative. It was events where they invited community members to tell their stories. So I chose a few of them, and I'm going to play the clips now for you. First up is Leslie McMurray. She is currently the Transgender Education and Advocacy Coordinator for the Resource Center in Dallas. Leslie was born and raised in South California. I don't know why I want to say Carolina. South California. She spent 33 years on the radio and TV business. She has 2 beautiful and successful daughters and 4 gorgeous grandchildren. Her transition has only strengthened the bonds she has with her children. Leslie lives in Coppell with her wife, Katie, and border collies, Breezy and Patches. For fun, she's a contributing columnist for the Dallas Voice and a frequent resource for national and local media on issues relating to the transgender community. Here is a piece of Leslie's story. Whoops. I don't know if you can hear this. I hope you can hear this. Can you hear this? If you can't hear this, will you say something? No. Okay. Hang on just a second. That. There.
Try this.
Put a dent in that somewhere. An extraordinary amount of this, I have a hard time finding a job.
Let me start from the beginning.
If you know that 41% of transgender people attempt suicide at some point in their lives, and that's just, to me, it's an obscene number. It's 25 times the national average. And hopefully we can kind of put a dent in that somewhere. An extraordinary amount of this, I have a hard time finding a job. I'm one of them. The unemployment average is twice the national average. For transgender women of color, it's twice that. It's 4 times the national average. And also, too, we suffer violence. So it is kind of a scary thing to do. My name is Leslie McMurray, and I am indeed transgender. I began my transition in July of 2012, but that's not where the story started. I was born in Los Angeles back in 1958. That was kind of a different world back then. I was about 5 years old when I kind of became self-aware. I was one of those that knew early on that something wasn't right. There wasn't a vocabulary for it. There wasn't a definition of it. I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I didn't feel right and didn't know what I could do about it. There wasn't anything that you could do about it. So I did the only thing that I could is I talked to my mom. And I remember one day, in my little 5-year-old mind, I said, well, she was ironing, and I was sitting on the floor, and I said, Mom, if I was born a little girl, what was my name going to be? She said, we're going to name you Leslie. I said, oh, I like that name. And I was kind of hoping that the conversation would go somewhere from that, but it didn't. It just kind of ended there. But one thing I took with me from that conversation is that that was my name. That wasn't the name I was given at birth, but that was my name, and that's the name that I was going to keep, and I was going to figure out some way. Not like I led a tragic life. I mean, it's far from it. I was a daydreamer, I had a vivid imagination, and it really served me well as I was growing up. But I kept my dreams to myself, and at the same time kind of crafted a personality that could withstand the toughest scrutiny, and I did. And I remember one of the things that growing up that my dad, my mom would come into my bedroom, and they'd tuck me in at night, and they'd say, did you say your prayers? I said, yeah, I did. They just never asked me what I was praying for. But if they did, boy, wow, what an awakening. Because again, they're just, sometimes I look back and I'm conflicted because I would think, how cool would it have been to have been raised the way I wanted to be raised? But then I thought, 1964? Are you kidding me? So yeah, I'm going to play the cards that I dealt.
Okay. Next up,
Any of you got
oops, sorry about that. Next up is a young man named Eric Duran. Eric was a student at UNT when he did this video. He has since graduated, interned for the Human Rights Campaign, went to graduate school at George Washington University in DC, and now works as the assistant director for the Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity at Penn State University. Here is Eric's story.
As a child, I never had the word homosexuality or gay in my vocabulary, but from cartoons such as Family Guy, South Park, and Simpsons, I figured out society's stereotype of a gay. I never thought much of it until I realized that I was having feelings for boys. But I didn't associate these feelings with being gay, because at the time, I thought being gay was being flamboyant and knowing a lot about fashion, which at 11, I knew nothing about fashion. One late night, though, I was watching TV and I saw this show that portrayed being gay in a different type of light. A serious, right-wing lawyer happened to like guys, and his life didn't revolve around this gay stereotype. His friend, on the other hand, was somewhat flamboyant, but was portrayed in a comical, normal way that combated it. And of course, I'm talking about Will and Grace, and which I do now own. So if you ever want to watch it, I have the whole series. At 11, when I was watching Will and Grace, I saw that being gay was not just about acting flamboyant and knowing fashion. I saw how normal it could be. At the time, I didn't know that there was this large community and even large controversy about it. I just knew that I was able to come to terms with my feelings. And I knew it could be okay to be gay in the world. For Will and Grace, though, I knew that it was something to be somewhat hidden and that it was a big deal if it came out. So I only came out to a couple of friends at the time, and that life continued normally. And so I thought that's how it was always going to be. It wasn't until my stepdad had a serious conversation demeaning homosexuality and entering the 7th grade when guys stopped talking to me and girls said things like, "You don't even act gay," that I saw that there was this bigger controversy and that being gay wasn't going to be as normal as I thought it would be. I came out to my parents when I was 12, and because I had left a school project that said I support gay rights on my desk and my stepdad found it, I cried a lot, but my parents hugged me and said that they would love me no matter what. And seeing this support, especially from my stepdad, who had his mind change so quickly, surprised me pleasantly, and I'm so happy to have them to be there to support me.
That's a story with a happy ending as well. Not all of them do. I just, before we go further, I just want you to know, not every coming out story has a happy ending. The ones that you're hearing today kind of do, but we'll talk more at the end. This is Nell Geither. She is a transgender activist, the founder and president of Trans Pride Initiative, which provides advocacy and assistance to transgender, transsexual, and gender nonconforming persons in areas of healthcare, education, employment, housing, and public accommodations. So here is Nell Geither.
Aspects of trans experience and why I started the organization I work with. I can't speak for all trans persons in our extremely diverse community, but I have found that in being honest with myself in terms of gender identity, I'm placed in opposition to a pervasive social power that tells me I am in fact being dishonest. As trans persons, we are often told that our most fundamental and hard-won truth about ourselves is actually a lie. This is conveyed through the words people use, through their actions to deny our identity, and through so many structural elements like little checkboxes on forms that are intended to be X according to that initial X provided on a birth certificate a few seconds after we are born.
And I chose this clip because it gives evidence to these small, like, microaggressions that trans people have to go through every day. Even, you know, you fill out a form and it seems very straightforward, but if it asks you to check a box whether you're male or female, it is basically a slap in the face to these folks. So that's something to think about. All right, this last one looks vaguely familiar. It's me. And is wildly less successful than the others, but at least we're funny. So here is a coming out story.
First coming out story when I came out to myself, which is wording that I always have hated. I first admitted to myself that I was and accepted myself as being lesbian May 5th, 1994. And that's when I discovered that I had, in fact, been dating my best friend for the past year without my knowledge. There were several points within that time that I should have known, like when she told me that she had fallen in love with a woman, but didn't say who, or when we sat on the beach in Galveston watching the moon rise over the bay. But I wasn't really good at social cues. So it caught me completely by surprise when that night she told me that it was me that she had fallen for and asked me what I was going to do about it. I thought about it for a while, and it explained so much my life. So I accepted it pretty quickly. I came out to my mother a few years later when that same woman broke up with me on my birthday. Now, to be fair, she never once remembered my birthday and the time we were together, or the time before that when we were just friends. So I tend to believe breaking up on my birthday was more horribly bad luck and not malicious intent on her part. Anyhow, every year my mother would call me on my birthday to sing happy birthday. And that year when she called, I responded by sobbing. It stopped the singing right away, that's for sure. And when I told her why, she was a champ, never even pausing before proclaiming that she loved me, we would get through this. And we.
All right, so again, a happy ending for a coming out story, and unfortunately, not all of those are like that. There are, and this is just in my personal friend group, stories of people who are kicked out of their family, who are basically disowned, and you know, and then you are put in a position where you have to find a family of your own, and that's something I think that LGBTQ plus people do a fairly good job of making a family. Scientists call it fictive kinship, and I have a family that is not my family, even though my family was okay with it. You know, find support wherever you can is what I would recommend. So I want to open this up to questions, but I also do want to I guess offer any kind of support that we can, and I can give you different websites to check into if you are thinking about making the decision about coming out. And one of the first places that I would recommend someone go to is Resource Center in Dallas, and it's just resourcecenter.org, and it is a place for LGBT people to feel safe. It has additional resources for you, and it is a place that will get you any kind of assistance that you need. That would be a first stop. If you are thinking about going to, beyond TCC to a nearby college, I know that UNT, University of North Texas, has a Pride Alliance organization that will, again, offer support and try to find any resources that you may need in your coming out journey. There's also another one, LGBTQ plus program, I believe is what they call it, over in at UT Arlington. So those are available to you on campus here on the Northeast campus of Tarrant County. We have an organization, the Pride Club. I'm not sure when their meetings are, but if you check on the bulletin boards throughout campus, they are advertised pretty closely, or you can certainly look it up on the tcc.edu website and try to find out where the meetings are. I myself, my office is always open to anybody who wants to talk, and I would welcome any conversations or any questions that anyone has. So, having said that, we can open up for questions if you want, or I can tell you more silly stories if you'd like. I don't know. Anybody have any questions or anything? Just please understand that while Harvey Milk was very adamant that coming out is the right thing to do, and I will say that it is very less stressful to be able to live open and comfortable in who you are, but understand that coming out isn't something that everyone can do. It is, for some people, dangerous. And if you are someone who is in a situation where it would be dangerous for you to come out, then don't feel like you have to just because somebody is saying that. Instead, take care of yourself and and do what you have to. There have been years and years and years in the United States when it wasn't safe for LGBT people to be out, where they developed a subculture, an underground, if you will, and use coded language, and we all learned to use what we used to call, because I'm one of the olds, I guess, what we used to call the pronoun game. What we have today are, where we ask people our pronouns. That's not what we're talking about when we say the pronoun game. The pronoun game is where you never quite give the pronoun of the people that you were with. I have a date on Saturday, and someone asks you on Monday, how did your date go? Oh, it was great. They were just so sweet, polite, and good looking, and all of these kind of things. But you never say whether it was he or she or what have you. You use vague pronouns, and no one can really ever pin you down, and that is something that happened in the past, and is still being done if there are circumstances where you can't come out. Question has been proposed. What advice do you have for people who have very conservative parents or who work in jobs that might end up with them getting fired? And that's what I'm saying is if you are in that situation, don't feel like you need to be an activist and lose your job, lose your home, or what have you. At some point, you know, even with conservative parents, you're going to keep getting older and become more and more responsible for your own lives. And when that happens, and you can, you know, survive on your own, when you have a job and can have a place to live and things like that, then you can come out to them. And be prepared that they may not accept you, but they might. My mother was an extremely religious woman, and yet she embraced me because she loved me so much, you know. So it might surprise you. I didn't come out to her for a long time. You know, until, as you heard, my girlfriend broke up with me, and I could no longer keep it inside. And I think she knew probably, but I never said anything to her. And the reason I didn't say anything to her is because I knew how religious she was. I knew what the church that she went to preached about it. So, you know, it's possible that they might surprise you. Maybe feel them out, maybe tell them about a friend that you have that's LGBTQ. Maybe, you know, as Eric, the young man Eric said, his stepfather was, you know, openly hostile towards LGBT people. But when Eric came out, he was more accepting because he loved that kid. So it's you never know what's going to happen. You know, stay safe though. Make sure that that's your first priority is your safety. And you know, you can. I was searching online for resources last night, and on the Resource Center they have a page called Resources. And I was checking the links, and there's one to, I believe it's, I think it's GLSEN, GLSEN, which is Gay and Lesbian, some kind of education network, like some, I don't know what the S stands for, some school and education network or something. I don't know what the S stands for, but anyway, the when I clicked on that link, a pop-up came up that said, you know, you can hide this by hitting the escape button 3 times, and this page will disappear and it will be removed from your history. So they are aware of some of the dangers and have put systems in place to try to protect people who need information but don't want to get caught looking for information, if you know what I mean. You know, check out the Resource Center, check out the Pride Alliance at UNT, check out the Pride Club here at TCC, and you know, try to find support. And when you have support, you know that you aren't going to be, you know, like kicked out of your home and left on your own. Maybe the time will come to tell your parents. And if you need support during that, you know, maybe someone will tell them with you, you know, be with you while you're doing that. And, you know, in jobs, it is still legal to fire people for being gay. That is something that is that is the facts of our life today. It is not illegal to fire someone or even to evict them from an apartment complex or something if the owner of the complex doesn't want you to to be there. So we have no laws against that in Texas. There's no federal law that will protect you in housing or in jobs and employment. You know, individual companies sometimes have policies that will protect you. I would certainly make sure that you look at those really clearly, you know, find the resources that you need before you take the leap. It does feel good. I'm not going to lie. It does feel good, but I had a soft landing. I had people who loved me and I knew would love me regardless. So if you aren't sure of that, maybe wait until you are. That's my advice. It is potentially dangerous. You know, sometimes you have to stay in the closet in order to live. And if you're in that situation, don't feel like you're betraying yourself. Don't feel anything, you know, disappointed or anything in yourself. It's not you, it's the world. And, you know, you're okay. There have been gay people for as long as there have been people, and there's nothing wrong with you. So hang in there, find your tribe, as they say, find your people, and you know, people that you can be you with absolutely no fear. And when you find those people, hold on to them, and you will be happier. I guarantee it. Right? Any other questions, comments, concern? Give you a couple of seconds if you want to ask something. I will. Very carefully try to pull up the resource center. And see if I can get that linked to you here. Resource Center, myresourcecenter.org. You go to the About Us tab, and it has additional resources, and the additional resources tell you. Careers, business. Out for swear to God, I had this in there for yesterday. There's LGBTQIA plus programs that you can get involved in. Let's see, we'll post this here. See. And there's some resources for you right there. And that's one. Let's see, the Pride Alliance in at UNT is pretty good. I know some of those people from when I was at UNT. That's a very good resource if you're looking for that. So those are some resources. If we are out of questions, out of comments, then I guess we will call it a day. Please fill out the form and have yourself a good day. We'll leave it at that. Great. Thank you for coming. I hope you learned something. check out the resources and thank you.